Today's video will change your life forever. Nah, I'm just kidding. We're going to talk about knives. Hi, welcome to RebzBasics. This is my toolkit, a motley collection of gadgets that I've acquired over the years that I use to do what I do. Every chef has one, and it's their most prized possession. Now, chefs can have a lot of different opinions on a lot of different subjects, but we're all pretty unanimous on this one thing. You ask 1,000 chefs, what's the best cuisine to cook? You'll get 1,000 different answers. But you ask those same 1,000 chefs, what is the most important thing to have in their toolkit? And 998 of them will say their knives. The other two will say booze and cocaine. They're not right, but they're not completely wrong either. That brings us to today's video, because while knives are not going to be as important to you, their selection and their care shouldn't be a matter of indifference either. Poorly made knives and poorly maintained knives have two things in common. They're useless and they're dangerous. So today, we'll talk about what to look for in your first set of knives and what to avoid. We'll discuss where to go about finding your knives. We'll go over basic care and upkeep of your knives. And we'll go through some simple lessons in the proper use of your knives. So let's get started. First, let's talk about exactly what kind of knives you need. There are lots of different knives made for all kinds of jobs in the kitchen, but we're going to limit our discussion to the knives you'll be most likely to use. Let's start with the chef's knife, the knife you're going to be using the most. You're going to want a blade that's about 8 inches long at least, and about 3 inches at its widest. The cutting edge should be smooth, not serrated. Avoid blades that can be easily bent. The handle of any knife should be comfortable and easy to grip, with a slightly rough surface for better handling with wet or oily hands. Next, the slicer knife. Good for cutting meats as well as bread. With this, I'd go for a blade at least 12 inches long with a serrated cutting edge like this one. Not like this. Where the hell did I get this? Do you see this? What is this? Some sort of alien medical technology or a medieval torture device? What am I supposed to cut with this? The cursed flesh of a heretic? Last, a paring knife for small jobs. 3 inches is a good length and a blade of about 3/4 of an inch wide. Like the chef's knife, its cutting edge should be smooth too. Okay, now that we've gone over what knives to get, let's talk about where to find them. There are any number of places to buy knives, with all different price points depending on what you want to spend, although personally, I would avoid dollar stores. You can go to the big box retailers like Walmart. They have a good selection of knives that'll meet your needs at a reasonable price. Avoid buying knife sets though, especially anything claiming to be always sharp. They tend to be made out of thin stamped steel with cheap handles that come loose, and those edges that are supposed to be able to cut a doorway in a brick wall and still be delicate enough to make paper-thin tomato slices, they don't stay sharp for long, and they tend to rust pretty quickly. You'll pay a little more buying your knives separately, but you'll get a lot more use out of them. If your money's a little longer than that, there's specialty home stores like Bed Bath & Beyond in Williams-Sonoma. There's a local restaurant supply store if you live in a larger city, and you can even buy knives online, although I recommend against that, and I'm really against buying in the second-hand market, but that's up to you. Some Japanese chefs believe that a part of your soul goes into your knives as you use them. Who needs haunted knives? Now let's talk about maintaining your knives. Wherever you buy your knives, get yourself a sharpener. If in the future you decide to get a little more serious about cutlery, and you have the money, there are any number of tools like sharpening steels made out of metal or even ceramic, and sharpening stones of different levels of hardness, and all kinds of online material to teach you how to use those things properly. Here and now, we're just going to focus on learning the basics. This is a sharpener. It's one of many different types of sharpeners. It just happens to be the one that I prefer. Now, anytime your knife is starting to get dull, break out your sharpener and give it a few licks. Always follow the safety instructions that come with your sharpener. You don't need to push down hard on it. Light pressure is all that's needed. Give it a few good strokes. Next, you'll take a paper towel, wipe off any burrs that might have been stretched out on there by your sharpener, unless you like having metal shavings in your food. Then you go back to what you were doing. If the blade's working well for you, you're good. If not, bring it back and give it a few more licks. You repeat that as often as you need to while you're working. Now, when you're finished using your knives, you should clean them as soon as possible. As in right now. Stop what you're doing and clean that knife. Don't make me come over there. Water, dish soap, and a dishcloth. Never use steel wool or abrasives. And after cleaning your knives, dry them with a cloth or a paper towel instead of allowing them to air dry. This helps the blade stay sharp for longer. It's also a good trick to use to get a couple extra months out of any disposable razors you use. Now, when it comes to storing your knives, just putting them in a drawer with your silverware is a good way to get a nasty cut, and it's bad for the blades too. Cutlery sheaths are available at lots of retailers, or you can make your own with some cardboard and tape. Just cut 2 pieces of cardboard, slightly larger than your blade. Use the tape to tie them together. Slide the blade right in and store it wherever you want. At this point, I feel it's necessary to tell you that cutting cardboard is a job for a razor blade or scissors, not a kitchen knife. Never use your knives to cut anything but food. No! Just... no! And don't let anyone else use your knives like that either. Die, demon! And now it's time to show you some basic knife skills. We're going to start out with how to hold a knife. Your grip on the knife should give you maximum control over the blade at all times, no matter what you're doing. So the proper way to hold a knife is to pinch the blade between your thumb and your forefinger with your other fingers around the handle. Not like this, or like this, unless you're planning to shank somebody in the prison yard later, and then you need to turn the blade up. Or like this. Hey, there's my severed fingers because I wasn't holding the knife right. Get with the program. Next, the guide hand. Whenever cutting, your other hand should be used to guide the blade. So what you want to do, curl your fingers under like this. Set them on top of whatever you're cutting. Put your thumb at the back of what you're cutting. And now set the blade of your knife against your fingers. And then you can start slicing. You move your finger along as you're slicing. It helps you to get a consistent size on your cut, and it also keeps your fingers safe from any sort of accidental slicing of them. When cutting, you should always make the effort to keep some point of your blade on the board. Always set the blade against your guide hand and slice. Now, over the course of this series, there'll be other little knife tricks that I'll teach you as they're needed. But this is a good basis, and you can feel free to practice anytime you want. Well, that's it for this episode of RebzBasics. If you found the episode useful, click like and subscribe, and hit the notification button, and spread the word about the channel. And get ready, because next episode, we cook. So until next time, thanks for watching, and we'll see you at Family Meal. Some chefs give you what you want. Big Daddy gives you what you need.